Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We'll begin our service with Shalom Aleichem, page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barkoni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zetchem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Good evening, good Shabbos, welcome. Welcome to everyone who's here in the chapel this evening. Welcome to those of you who are joining us online. It has been a very full week for our community since last Shabbat. There have been many wonderful highs and anticipated celebrations. There have been many very deep lows as we lost several community members in recent days and in recent weeks, and there have been beautiful outpourings of support. As always, we come into this space from all of those different orientations. Some here at the end of a week of joy and celebration, some here in the midst of profound mourning, some here in the midst of loneliness, others in the midst of tremendous community, and everything in between all of those poles. And somehow our prayers and our songs and this tradition of Shabbat has a space for us all. So thank you for being here and for making that space and for lifting one another up and grounding one another in turn. That's what we do when we come together from so many different places. Let's bring in this holy time with the kindling of our Shabbat lights. It is a joy to invite forward Randy Roig and Brian Weimer to take us into this sacred time of Shabbat, and we're on pages 2 and 3.
B'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Amen.
We rise, page 5, for Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahavahu v'ratzon hinchilanu Zikaron lemaseh v'reshit ki hu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim B'Shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen.
May be seated. We are in the midst of the Hebrew month of Cheshvan, which, as I think I may have mentioned before, is the famous month on the calendar because it doesn't have any holy days, any Jewish holy days in it. There's no holidays in this month. We certainly know that Tishrei is full up with all of our high holidays, and we know that Kislev comes along and it brings us our Festival of Lights, Hanukkah, and Cheshvan is here with nothing particularly remarkable about the days that pass. And the rabbis acknowledge that Cheshvan, this period of time, is this is a month of routine, an opportunity to acknowledge blessed routine in our lives, considering our lives and the world and pondering questions related to the very essence of our lives as we have days that can be very much like other days. Now, we know that in our own personal lives, They don't go according to the Hebrew calendar, and remarkable things happen in our lives in every single month. But on our Hebrew calendar, it is an opportunity to think about how one day is distinguished from another and one moment distinguished from another, even without the imposition of days that we must acknowledge and welcome, except for Shabbat. So I'd like to share with all of us, a kavanah, a meditation for this month of Mar Cheshvan by Rabbi Maya Leibovich, who is the first Israeli-born woman to be ordained as a rabbi. And these are some of the words that she offers about in reflection of what this time in our lives could be. She says, "May we know how to discern blessing, even in the yoke of the mundane, joy even in the simplest moments, beauty even amidst the everyday distress. Imagine a small attic," she says, "in which you will preserve the beauty of this and each moment." So as we sit here in a month with no holy days, may we consider how we make the mundane holy and the moment-to-moment passing of time also holy, whether this has been a month of joy or a month of sadness. It can be a month of holiness. Let's sing together, beginning our Kabbalat Shabbat, welcoming with song this different kind of time. It's an opportunity, whether you love to sing or it's not something that you do regularly, an opportunity to make a separation between whatever you were doing and whoever you were being before Shabbat began, and who you would like to be and what you would like to do during these blessed 25 hours. We begin on pages 12 and 13.
Lechu neranena l'Adonai, Nariha letzur yishenu, Nekadma pana petona, Bizmirot Nariha lo, Shiru l'Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru l'Adonai, Kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Basru miyom leyom Yeshuato, Sabru hagoyim yevodo, Beto ha'amim niflokav, Ki gadol Adonai, olam me'od, norahu, Akol Elohim, We turn to page 20 for Lechado D. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Yadadadadai Lechado D. Yadadadadai Likrat Kala. Yadadadadai Pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat Nekabila. Yadadadadai Lechado D. Yadadadadai Likrat Kala. Yadadadadai Pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat Nekabila. Shamor Bezachor
kala. Yadadadadai p'nei Shabbat. P'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Verse 5.
Itoreni. Itoreni. Ivaore umiori. Uri uri. Shedaveri. Kevod Adonai. Alayim nichai. Yadadadai. Yadadadadai lakadogi. Yadadadadai likrat kala. Yadadadadai p'nei Shabbat. P'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom. Ateret bala. Gam v'simcha. Utzola. Toch emunei. Am segula. Boi chala. Boi chala. Yadadadadai lakadodi. Yadadadadai likrat kala. Yadadadadai p'nei Shabbat. P'nei Shabbat nekabela.
You can be seated. It's our real pleasure at this time to welcome up all of you who are with us, who are not quite to the age of 12 or 13, not quite there to your B'nai Mitzvah for your Shabbat blessing. So come on up. You know who I'm talking to. Maybe your week was full of really awesome high moments. Maybe they had some moments that weren't so great. Best part about Shabbat is that you get to take a bit of a rest, take some deep breaths, sing some songs, say some prayers, spend time with family, and reset so you can try it all over again next week. Shabbat Shalom. We're glad you're here with us.
Yivarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha. Ken yehi ratzon. Yaher Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. Ken yehi ratzon. Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yatzem lecha shalom. Ken yehi ratzon.
We'll continue with the Baruch Hu on page 28. Please rise. One thing I forgot to say is if any of your little ones are going to be doing Shabbat fun with the babysitting team, you can feel free to show them out there, bring them out there, and just make sure you check in with one of the babysitters. We'll continue on page 30, together in Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvitvuna mishanei itim, umachalif et hazmanim, sader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uvein layla, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo.
El Chai v'Kayam Tamid Yimlok Aleinu L'Olam Vahed, Baruch Atah Adonai Hamari V'Aravim.
Blessed are you, eternal, our God, who brings on the evening. Page 33, the bottom of the page, we read together. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form?
Ve'avatecha tasir mimenu lo'olamim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vahed.
You could be seated. Page 36.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, B'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha, v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom ha'levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'divarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech Uvshokbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam lehot ayadecha, vehayu letotafot beineinecha, uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizkeru, va'asitem et kol mitzvotai, vitem kedoshim lelohechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet.
Salvation, redemption, is the Jews' victory over human limitations, ignorance or insensitivity. It is the conquest of sinfulness, of the evils resident within the self, of pride and selfishness, hate, lust, cynicism, the deliberate rejection of goodness and truth. Continue on page 40 with Mi Chamocha.
Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha ledar ba'kodesh, Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha ledar ba'kodesh. Torah tehilot, osef eleh, Torah tehilot, osef ונאמר כי בדרוני את יעקב וגלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גא ישראל.
Page 43. Together at the top of the page in English and then in Hebrew. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 44.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג המקדשי שבי כולם ישבחו ויתענגו מטובך והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו חמדת ימים אותו קראת זכר למעשה בראשית זכר למעשה בראשית.
A thought before we enter into our Amidah, our central prayers. We usually explore this meditation on page 39 before we sing Michamocha because it's about crossing the Red Sea and the ways that redemption comes about, the big and small ways. But I'd like us to explore it tonight in anticipation of our standing prayer because it's also about standing. This is based on Michael Walter's work, Standing on the Parted Shores of History. We still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. A consideration in this meditation that we are always standing on the shores of the Red Sea, contemplating a journey, always. That's his suggestion. Sometimes that journey is an external one that involves interacting with the physical world and with others. Sometimes that journey is a deeply internal one that involves taking on some of our own inner struggles. But may this prayer that we're about to enter into, called our standing prayer, our Amidah, may it be a moment to remember as only quiet moments between big holidays can, that every moment is the first moment of the rest of our lives, and every breath is a breath of new beginning. So let us stand on the parted shores of our lives, page 46 and following, and we sing together.
Adonai sifatai tiftach u'piyah hilakecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu
Elohe Rachel, Elohe Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor B'Hadolah, El Yon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei HaKol, Vezoker Tasei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Ve'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor L'Olam Adonai, Mekayeh HaKol, Atar HaVotiha, Mashipahu U'Morid HaGashem, Mekakel Chayim B'Chesed, Mekayeh HaKol B'Racham V'Rachim, Somet Noslim B'Rofet Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Mitamot Rabal Gevurot, Umido Melech, Melech Mehi Umekayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'nehemana Talatayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mekayeh HaKol. Atah Kadosh, V'shimcha Kadosh, U'kadoshim B'kol Yom Yalalu Kasela, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
You're welcome to be seated. Page 55 at the very, very bottom, this offering of Rabbi Heschel. The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week we live under the tyranny of things in space. On Shabbat we try to become attuned to the holiness of time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 57, together at the bottom, reading. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch Atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yir'ah na'avod. And page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks together for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch Atah Adonai, Hatov Shimcha, Ulecha Na'eh Lehodot. Take now a few moments for our own personal prayers and meditations. Prayers for peace on page 60 and 61. Peace in the world and peace within ourselves, our own hearts, and whatever other prayers we need to say tonight. This is the moment for that. And we'll come back together after a few moments of silence.
Oseh shalom bimroma, Oyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimroma, Oyaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen. Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, Amen.
We dedicate this moment to those who are in need of healing. Page 253 is our Mishabera. Please take a breath or two to call to mind those in our spheres of concern in our communities whose bodies or minds or hearts are broken right now. People who are suffering in ways that are obvious to the world and people who are suffering in ways that are invisible to everyone but them. We hold them in our hearts at this time. You're welcome to whisper their names, picture their faces, and we sing together praying for their renewal of body and perhaps even more importantly, their renewal of spirit.
May the source of strength, oh bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishevera imotenu mekor habracha ma'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. For a lot of people, it's been a week and a half or so of some deep avoidance of news and social media, or both. I encourage you all, if you have not done so in the last week and a half, to give yourself maybe a Shabbat or longer of doing that. But in the past week and a half, I personally have actually been thinking a lot about Batman. Not really actually Batman himself, but two of his nemeses. Who knows why, but I have been unable to shake this mental image of the Joker, a smooth talker with a terrible makeup job and twisted logic, who gets a lot of people, well-intentioned, caring, loving people, to follow him. And also, maybe it's because there was just a really great miniseries that aired, and if you like gory, I say you should watch it, but the Penguin, who, if you read into his backstory, I'm assuming there's more nerds out there like me, but if you read into his backstory, you find out that this was actually just a regular guy with a really hard, somewhat terrible upbringing and circumstances, and who is driven through all of that to justify inflicting some of that on others. So we have two villainous sort of archetypes, or really one archetype, one set of feelings and emotions that manifest in very different but similar ways. And like I said, that pull a lot of genuine, kind, and smart people into subscribing to this pitfall that has plagued the human experience for all time, which is to find your way to saying to yourself, not my people, not my problem. And I know this is going to sound more ridiculous than everything I've said so far, but there is Torah in that. In this week's Parsha, Parshat Vayera, Abraham faces exactly this situation of having in front of him the choice to say or to reject the idea, not my people, not my problems. There is this opening line to Vayera, this week's Parsha, from Genesis chapter 18. It says, Vayera elav Adonai be'elonei Mamre v'hu yoshev petach ha'ohelei kachom hayom, etc., etc. Adonai, God, appeared to Abraham in the groves of Mamre. Abraham was sitting at the entrance of his tent as the hottest part of the day. And looking up, he saw three figures approaching him out of the desert. And upon seeing them, Abraham ran from the entrance of his tent to greet them, bowing low to the ground and declaring, My lords, if you should please, do not continue moving on past me, your servant. Let me bring a little water to you. Bathe your feet. Recline under the tree. Let me bring you a morsel of bread so that you may refresh yourselves. And only after that go on your way, seeing that you have come past me, your servant. And they reply, Do as you have said. Now Abraham, upon seeing these figures appear out of nowhere in the desert, could have thought, and frankly, who would have blamed him? He could have thought, not my people, and ignored them. He could have closed the flaps to his tent. He could have signaled to them, or at least that no one, or at least no one who cared about them, was home. He could have actively prepared himself for a confrontation. He could have made gestures to make it clear to these travelers not to approach him at all, that there was danger, that there was confrontation. And yet he rejects all of that. And more importantly, he rejects the notion that he is not connected and therefore in some ways responsible for everyone whom he encounters. From the safety of his own home, partially in comfort under the shade out of the sun, and partially in really deep discomfort, recovering from, some say, his own self-circumcision a few days earlier, even in those bits of comfort and those bits of discomfort, he still resolves to declare to himself, those are, in some way, my people. So I would say role model test number 1, passed. A little later, a couple of chapters later, in Genesis 18, we read this other famous bit. Vayakumu misham ha'anashim. The messengers, these same 3 travelers, set out from Abraham's tent and looked down upon the city of Sodom. And Abraham walked alongside them to see them off. And then Adonai said, Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Since Abraham is to become a great and populous nation, and all the nations of the earth are to bless themselves by him, that, of course, is the moment when God shares the plan to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. And again, Abraham has a choice to make. Who could have blamed him if he had said, not my problems, and let them deal with it and pay the price of their own iniquities? He could have turned his back on them, figuratively or literally, not given them a single other thought, not given a thought to someone else's circumstances, and only remembered them, perhaps, when someone else around him shared the news of what had come to pass. He could have justified not paying attention to an impending dire situation, even if it had nothing to do with him, by relegating the entire fate of those cities to, they got what they deserved. But he rejected those impulses too, as well as the notion that someone else's fate was not inherently tied, even in the smallest of ways, to his and his own families. From the loftiness of the mountaintop where he looked down, where he mingled with angels and the very presence of God, where he literally looked down on people that he knew to be unethical and cruel, he still declared to himself, those are, in some way, my problems too. Role model test number 2 passed, I would say. I know that it has been an exhausting couple of weeks for many people, for many of us. And from this Torah portion, from no Torah portion, I should say, is there a perfect analogy or parallel to the world and the situation, the circumstances that Abraham was in, and the world, the situation, the circumstances that we inhabit. But what a world it would be, our world. Even just what a nation we would inhabit if, from our own homes and our own dwelling spaces, whether in degrees of comfort or degrees of pain, whether high above others, metaphorically or literally, or far below them, what if the resounding response that naturally poured forth from our hearts into our minds, and our minds into our mouths, and our mouths into our hands was, those are my people. Their problems are my problems. And I would urge all of us to also remember that Abraham shows us what the outcome of that mindset can be. Our impulse continues to be in care and concern, that we run to feed them, to care for them, to shelter them, to give rest and comfort to them, whether we know them or not, whether we like them or not. Whatever condition we're in on any given day, we still can continue to fight and to advocate for others directly with food and with presence, or peripherally with advocacy and with talking to others who can make decisions on their behalf. Ken Yehi Ratzon, I say, that should be God's will for us to live as such and to act as such and to reap the benefits of a world and to reap the goodness from the human population that we live amongst if we cared for each other and the world as such. Shabbat Shalom.
Rise and turn to page 282 for Elena. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, lateit gidula leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo zamanu kimishpechot adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kecho hamonam, v'anachnu korhim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'nemar, V'haya Adonai, L'melech al kol haaretz, V'yom hahu, Yehyeh Adonai echad, U'shemo echad.
You can be seated. Page 289. Our meditation before Mourner's Kaddish. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty, but soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our life burns down and gutters. There's an end to the flames. We see no more and we are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and of life. Page 294. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom each of us has drawn into our hearts with our own. Our custom here, as many of you know, is that as we call these names aloud, if you are linked with any of them in life, in love, in family, or friendship of any kind, we invite you, if you wish, to rise in your seat until we all rise together at the end of the list for the Mourner's Kaddish. We observe mourning and this period of pre-Shiva for Sharon Weissler Leader, who will be laid to rest after Shabbat. The period of Shiva, the first 7 days, following the deaths of our beloved Doris Ross Norman and Henry J. Bodenheimer. Shloshim, the first 30 days, following the deaths of beloved Elizabeth Betsy Ale Ginsburg, Joseph Jerome Cantor, Judith B. Kenter, Lynn Harrison Porres, and Etta Faye Orkin. And we recall the names of those who died at this time in years past: Rebecca Katz-Alanek, Elias Bowski, Isidore Brandt, Julius Cohen, Ruth Berenson Forsyth, Bertha S. Goldman, Leon Aaron Greenblatt, Erwin H. Isaacs, Catherine Kane, W. Sue Katz, Matilda Coleman, Mrs. Clemence L. Kuzminski, Edwin C. Lazard, Hilda Wolf Levy, Oscar Z. Levy Sr., David Margolius, Reggie Markley, Flora May, Elaine F. Menzer, Kenneth R. Menzer, Elsie Hamburger Phillips, Samuel Ratner, Millie Silverstein Rigsby, Esther Barber Rosenberg, Jack Sylvan, Max Singer, Ruth Joy Sogan, Nettie Silverstein Solomon, Bertha R. Sontheimer, Isaac Sontheimer, Max N. Tobias, Joseph H. Weil, and Ferdinand F. Wheel. If there are any other names that you would like to say out loud or hold in your own heart, whether you stand or sit, please, you're welcome to do so as my eyes come around the room. Zichronam livracha, may each and every one of their lives and memories be a blessing. Page 294, invite you all to rise. As a community, we recite the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam ulamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yit hadar, v'yit alev, v'yit halal, shemei dekudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May there be abundant peace from heaven and life for us and for all of Israel, to which we say, amen. You can be seated. It's our pleasure to welcome our Executive Vice President, Kevin Wilkins, for some Shabbat announcements.
Shabbat Shalom. It's wonderful to see you all here tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Brian and Randy, for kindling the Shabbat lights. Very great. And thank you to the greeters and community volunteers, Elizabeth Gottfried, Kendall Scales-Glade, and Anna Labadie. Thank you to our sponsors this evening. The Shabbat Pulpit Flowers have been generously sponsored in memory of Jack Sylvan by Laura and Walter Levy and family. If you are a Touro ambassador, could you please stand so we could recognize y'all? So for the new members and for guests who want to get to know Touro Synagogue that much better, please pursue one of these people or one of us on the bima tonight. We'd love to meet you and we'd love to introduce ourselves to you. So Shabbat Shur begins tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Enjoy bagels and coffee and engage in sacred text study with our clergy. All are welcome. We've got some really special Shabbats coming up, so I want to make sure you all are aware of this. First of all, we're so excited about the Broadway Shabbat, which is going to be on December 6th. Touro's own Cantor Margolius and the incredibly talented Alex Page Loomis will be perform the songs of Jason Robert Brown. It's going to be amazing. You're going to want to see that. The first Shabbat morning in December is Saturday, December 7th. All are invited to join a morning of learning, prayer, nourishment, and community. You can learn more about First Shabbat at Touro by visiting tourosynagogue.com. And finally, our congregational Hanukkah celebration, Yamin Yafim's consecration, will be held on Friday, December 13th. So that's like 1 week I'm talking about. December 6th right through to December 13th. There's a lot going on. We will offer a special blessing for our kindergarten class, and for the first graders, honor the members of our building committee for their extraordinary work throughout our capital campaign, and celebrate Hanukkah with a fried food fest of deliciousness. Stay tuned for more details around that, and all are welcome for Shabbat dinner in the Grant Meyer Garden Pavilion following services. Shabbat Shalom.
Extend one more word of welcome, especially if you're new to this space and this congregation. I hope you will consider staying for delicious Shabbat dinner. And just to clarify, after Kevin's beautiful announcements, we know that Hanukkah doesn't start on December 13th, and it's coming around. I think it starts on Christmas Day, but we're just going to claim it on December 13th. So we'll be fully fried up before Hanukkah begins. So we hope everybody will come and celebrate. That's going to be a really special night. Our littles and also our amazing building committee and the broader campaign initiative that has created a shelter for them for generations. So it'll be a beautiful night.
We'll close our service tonight on page 321, Adon Olam. Please rise. Adon Olam Hashem Allah B'terem ko Yitzir Nivra Lehet Nasa V'chepso ko Azai Melech Shemo Nikra V'acharei Kiklot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora V'hu Haya V'hu Vehu Yeh Betifara Vehu Echad Ve'ein Sheni Lehamshilo Lehachbira Ve'li Reshit Ve'li Tachlit Ve'lo Ha'oz Ve'hamizrah Vehu Eli Ve'chai Go'ali Ve'tzor Chabli Be'etzara Ve'hu Nisi Umanosli Menat Kosi Ve'yom Ekra Ve'yado Apid Ruchi Ve'et Kishon Ve'ayira Ve'him Ruchi Geviati Adonai Li Ve'lo Yira Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.